Hey y'all, in this final lesson for Unit 2, we are going to be talking about the distributive property. By the end of the lesson, we want to be able to use the distributive property. Our essential question then is, how does the distributive property work? Let's get started. So the distributive property, there are four main properties that we use when working with adding or multiplying real numbers. These are the associative, commutative, identity, and distributive. We've talked a little bit about these, such as in the getting ready for Unit 2 do now that we did at the beginning of the unit, but we're going to talk a little bit more in detail now. The associative property is what lets us change numbers that are grouped together. So I showed you this. It's like 4 plus 8 plus 2 is the same as if we group together 4 plus 8 and then add 2. Same thing with multiplication. For example, if we have 2 times 3 in parentheses and then multiply 5, it would be the same as doing the 3 times 5 in parentheses and multiplying the 2. So we can associate things differently as long as it is all the same operation. Make sure you write down the underlined words in your notes. The commutative property is next. This is the one that lets us perform the operation in any order. So 4 plus 8 plus 2 is the same as 2 plus 4 plus 8, or 2 times 3 times 5 is the same as 3 times 5 times 2. It doesn't matter the order as long as the operation is all the same. We have two identity properties. We have the identity property for addition, which is 0, because any number plus 0 is that same number. Think of your identity is yourself. So these are things that keep the number itself or the same. So the identity property for addition is 0, because 0 plus any number is the same number. The identity for multiplication is 1, because any number times 1 is that same number. So what keeps it the same? Finally, we are talking about the distributive property. This is what lets us multiply over addition. For example, 3 times 4 plus 5 is 3 times 4 plus 3 times 5. So we're multiplying into a problem that is addition. Now, algebraically, the distributive property would look like this. A times B plus C equals AB plus AC. This is how to show that for any number we plug in, this property is what it looks like. And when we say what we're doing here is we are distributing the A over the addition of B and C. When I distribute something, I give it to everybody that is present. So I am giving that A or distributing it to each thing in the parentheses. All right, let's look at some examples. When a number or variable is written directly in front of a set of parentheses, it must be multiplied by everything inside the parentheses. So again, that distributing. So if I have 2 times 3x minus 7, I'll have that 2 and I'll multiply it into the 3x, as well as multiplying it into the minus 7. So 2 times 3 is 6 for 6x, and 2 times 7 is 14. It was minus 7, so it's minus 14. However, if there is no number or variable written directly in front of the parentheses, you should draw in a 1. The 1 will be positive or negative according to the sign before it. So zooming in here, we can see that I've added a 1 in front of my parentheses. So I'm going to take, and that 1 is negative because there's a minus in front of it. So I take that negative 1, and I'm going to distribute it throughout my problem. So negative 1 will go to 4x, and negative 1 will go to positive 2. That 5 is still included in my expression. So I have 5, and then negative 1 times 4x is minus 4x, and negative 1 times 2 is minus 2. I can simplify this a little bit further by taking that 5 minus 2 to get 3 and still have minus 4x. Another way to look at this is called the area model. We can split this up and think of this because area is a length times a width we can think of each of these things as a length. 3x minus 7 is the length, and the width is 2. So I'm multiplying these two things together. We can see then how 2 times 3x is 6x, and 2 times negative 7 is negative 14, giving us the 6x minus 14. Again, we can do that with the 4x plus 2 and the negative 1 that we are distributing in. Negative 1 times 4x is negative 4x, and negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. We found the areas of those things. The total area is those things together. Here are 4 examples for you to give a try. Pause the video once you've done all 4 problems, then come back and play to see if you were right. So here we are distributing each of those things in. When we distribute, we get these final answers: 9x plus 21, 4 minus 10d, 30r minus 12s, and negative 8 plus 2d minus 18g. To summarize our distributive property, the distributive property works to multiply a number over addition or subtraction, and you must multiply everything in the parentheses. Here is one nice little general example of distributing a positive number over addition, a positive number over subtraction, a negative number over addition, and a negative number over subtraction. Feel free to copy down this general little help piece if it is helpful to you. You have room in your notes to copy that down if you would like. Your next steps after you turn in your completed notes for this lesson is to complete the final worksheet in your packet titled "What is the World's Longest Punctuation Mark?" Complete that, and then you will submit that to Schoology and take your final mastery check. Good luck.